The PlayStation Portable is a great little system to play when you're sick and bad, and if you can only stay conscious for a few moments at a time, well, you might as well go to their online downloadable store and pick up some quick plays there. I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I look at the PlayStation Portable Minis.
Second Opinion Games.
Rumble Trucks, it looks like a free-to-play game on my tablet, only I had to spend a couple dollars on this. So what do they give you that free-to-play game doesn't? Well, the fact that you don't have to unlock things by grinding for hours. Instead, you have to grind for several minutes. The graphics are also slightly better, and I mean very slightly. The controls are very simple. You just hit the gas and try and climb up big hills and make it to the end of the level. It's kind of satisfying to do when you reach a huge hill that you can't quite overtake, and you finally figure out how to do it by backing up and ramming forward as fast as possible. You also have a little jump button that you could throw in there, so that's something a little bit different. So yeah, it's kind of a throwaway title, but decent in a pinch. The Terminator is also rather generic looking. It's a top-down shooter, and keep in mind most of these are twin-stick shooters, but because of one analog stick on the PSP and it's kind of a chintzy one, I recommend turning on auto-aim for blowing away all those evil robots that want to eat your lunch or take your girlfriend or whatever their motivation is. I'm not quite sure why they want to round up people when they could build their own people to use as slaves that might be better. I don't know. The whole thing's confusing. But what I'm saying here is that this is just running around, blowing apart Terminators, and sometimes saving your people, which that means you have to switch to your pistol then to move them over to a teleporter, I guess, to make them go away. The game gets old rather quickly, and that camera zooming back and forth starts making me feel sick after a while. Sad to say that this is still one of the better Terminator experiences out there. It just shows you how bad the Terminator license has been abused in video games in general. To get that war fix in, you might as well turn to Apache Overkill. It's a horizontal shoot 'em up with a helicopter. The controls feel a bit floaty, but then again, it is a helicopter, and mowing down your enemies is extremely satisfying. The whole thing feels like Metal Slug. I think they ripped off a lot of the assets of those games, if not just outright in general. Now, there is plenty of locations to shoot up, and there's lots of weapons that you could pick up along the way, like extra missiles, or bombs, or rockets, which are kind of like missiles, or maybe even laser beams or nukes to take out all of the other helicopters that want to see you dead. This is surprisingly fun, and it's bright and colorful, something that games at the time just didn't do very often. So I'm happy to see that, and it made me feel a little happy, until I passed right back out again. It's surprising to see such a generic yet fun horizontal shooter. Hammer Wars. Well, you might be thinking it's a Warhammer game, but no, it's kind of another helicopter game. The controls are floaty, but it's a helicopter, so what do you expect? Especially one swinging a freaking hammer around and smashing bugs and other weird helicopters. There's plenty about this game that keeps it feeling fresh. All the backgrounds look freaking gorgeous, and some of the sound effects are phenomenal as well. And yes, swinging this hammer did start to get old really fast, and then it got fun all over again, and then it felt old, and then it felt fun. You know what? I don't know how to feel about this game, but I still keep playing it, so it must be darn good. The levels are all short, and it makes you feel like you're pushing through the game in no time. It's just sad that there's not a lot of voice acting here, because the rest of the package is done quite well. Sheep defense. There's not a whole lot going on here, and I probably shouldn't even cover it, but it has a lot of sheep, so I feel like I'm compelled to. You see, this is a two-player only game where two dogs run around some sheep and bark and try and scare away other dogs from eating the sheep. If you keep most of your little critters alive, well, then you're the top dog, and it's game over, and then you just start another round. I don't really foresee anyone playing this outside of early 2000s car rides across country, because that's the only reason anyone actually should be playing it. However, I do like saving the sheep. 3-2-1 Super Crash. I wish I could say I only played this game for a couple of minutes, but minutes turn into hours with this one. You play as a guy that looks like Mike Hagar from Final Fight on a unicycle, trying to fit through holes that are placed into brick walls in certain fashions. The controls aren't too complicated to figure out, but it does get really difficult when you have to pick up stars and even start jumping in the mix, just moving your arms about, and I can only do one at a time because my brain just doesn't work any other way. And it's just a ridiculous game that looks like it would better be put on the Wii doing weird motion controls. I think they actually had a game like that, but you know what? That's another game for another time. Run Ghost Run. It's another game I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and then when I started playing, well, it's essentially Buster Brothers. Only instead of popping balls, you're popping ghosts. And ghosts of pumpkins, I guess? Now they all bounce around like they're balls still, so yeah, who would have thought ghosts act like that? Also, who would have thought ghosts explode when you pop them with a little laser? So I guess I gotta keep my laser pointer beside me at my bed. Now you also have the different puzzle levels that Buster Brothers had, and it's just a revamped version of that game entirely. It feels very familiar, and I'm quite okay with that. Another game I was playing just because it felt familiar was Pinball Fantasies. This came out on everything, like the Genesis, the Super Nintendo, and even the Atari Jaguar, and yes, a PSP Mini. So when playing this game, it felt exactly like the other versions of the game, with the still somewhat wonky ball physics. Even though some internet people say the ball physics here are near perfect, well, look at this. Does that look perfect to you? I don't think so. However, the colors are brighter here and the sound effects sound better than ever, so if you were a fan of Pinball Fantasies, well, pick it up for the PSP because it just might be the very best version. Now, sometimes I'll pick a game just because the developer is one that I know really well, even if I know nothing about the game. Mighty Flip Champs is definitely a game I did that with because it was created by WayForward, a company that really knows how to draw pretty ladies, and I appreciate that. Also, they have weird gameplays with lots of puzzle elements, and I very much appreciate that too. So here you play as a pretty girl trying to get to a frog to kiss him. For some reason or another. I don't even care because the gameplay here is just mind-meltingly awesome. You have to flip one side of the screen to the other, and sometimes there's like a crap ton of screens going on, so just trying to figure out spatial reasoning and move your way through this whole maze is just plain difficult to do. And also sometimes you're gonna be falling down and you have to make split-second decisions in how to get to that finish line. All this stuff is from very early in the game, and I'm already starting to have a breakdown. You probably shouldn't play this when you're too sick, because it's gonna hurt really bad. Also, there's no jumping here. You could only move left and right and climb ladders to get to where you need to go. So if you have the patience for it and the brain power, this is definitely your game. Another unexpected puzzle game is Balloons. If you ever played the Balloons Tower Defense games, you would be surprised to see that this is their first game, where you play as a monkey throwing darts at balloons. The idea is to try to destroy as many balloons as you can, or a preset number of them, and do so in creative ways. You'll still be throwing darts at balloons? I guess that's as close as the tower defense game it actually comes, and yes, sometimes these get really tricky. Also, trying to figure out exactly how your monkey throws the balloons is kind of fun itself, and I do love monkeys in video games, so yeah, I'm gonna be playing this one for a while. Even if you can beat it in like 10 minutes if you know how to clear a level, it's still a great time. So far, all the games I talked about were playable, but not very epic, and that's really the idea behind the minis. So when I started playing 1,000 Tiny Claws, I was blown away by how actually epic this game is. First of all, there's some actual voice acting here. I mean, they're not saying anything other than pirate mumbo jumbo, but that is ridiculously awesome. Also, the gameplay is tight and responsive. Swinging your sword actually feels like it has some weight behind it. Taking hits actually feels like it hurts you, and when you start to fall over the edge, you really actually start panicking for your character. And now the whole idea is to smack bugs off the edge and sometimes power up your sword and unleash a massive attack. There'll be huge boss battles to take out and a whole storyline to go through. And I love pirates, I love sword swinging, and I absolutely love 1,000 tiny claws because it actually feels like a full fleshed out PSP Mini game. It certainly was not something that I expected at all. Just like our last game. FlyFu! That's right, it's a fly that just beats the crap out of other insects. Heck, it's better than any Bruce Lee video game ever of all times, and it controls, well, just wonky, but I don't even care. I am doing some massive ninja moves on these evil bugs, and I'm ripping them to shreds. Heck, you could even pick up weapons on the screen and use them in creative ways, and it's just what I expected when I first started playing my PSP today. To find something weird and stupid and completely unexpected, and it did not disappoint me. Now, these minis might not be AAA titles, but when you keep in mind that you could buy them for only a couple dollars a piece, well, then they end up being a no-brainer. Recently, I picked up a homebrew card for one of my favorite consoles, and I paid like $70 for a collection of minigames that probably aren't any better than these, and I got a lot more of them here, and some of them were real dingers. So if you have a couple bucks in your pocket, and maybe even a little tiny bit of spare time, I recommend giving some of these minis a try. But of course, that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I had a rough time making it because I'm losing my voice. I have the sick. I almost didn't make a video, but I struggled through just to put this one out just for you guys. So please leave me a comment of your favorite PSP minigame, and maybe I'll give that one a try in the future because there's a ton of them. So until later, I will see you again, guys.